Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about medical trainees? When should they start to think about getting disability insurance, and then how much can they go for?
This is such a great question because I am in the thick of it right now. So a lot of my clients are actually medical students
Hmm.
transitioning to residency and residence. We definitely service, those that are practicing, but the beginning of that relationship that we foster is with somebody who's just starting out into their career, because that's when it starts to trigger things like, oh my goodness, I'm not a student anymore. I'm not a residency employee anymore. Like, what am I doing? How am I protecting myself? So 100%, the earlier you buy this, the easier it is. And not only
Hmm.
from the position of, when you think of disability insurance, it's the most difficult insurance you can buy. And the reason is because insurance companies are looking at you in a snapshot of your life and they're saying, okay, for the next 35 years, what is the risk that this person might get hurt, might get ill, might have to take
Hmm.
time off work? That is a huge, huge risk that they're taking on. So they look at things like age, sex, occupation, income, your health history, family health history, your travel status, your hobbies, what sports do you play? And they use all of that to sort of say, okay, is this person a good candidate? Yes or no? And so the younger you are, it's probably the healthiest you're ever going to be, likely. And so it makes it
Yep.
a lot easier to buy things. But what a lot of people also don't realize is as a student and resident, there is massive amounts of savings that you can get. So there are, situations where you get 25% discounts for the rest of your career by buying it as a resident or a medical student. You
Oh,
get a
wow.
year free, so you don't have to pay for it for, example, PGY1. You can just skip that year and then you're not paying for it until PGY2. And the kicker, the best for me, is that when you're buying it as a trainee, you don't have to answer any medical questions. There are five
Hmm.
questions that you have to answer to get what yeah, you probably went through was a 30-page application, blood and urine samples,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much detail. They get to
yeah,
avoid all of that. And so
yeah.
even just taking out the risk aspect of like, could you get hurt? The apples to apples of waiting versus not waiting, it's astronomical how much you save and how much easier the process is by doing it as a trainee.
Okay, perfect. And I think on our initial episode, you mentioned one useful rider in that situation, I guess the future income option,
Yes,
where as their income goes up, then they can get more coverage without often having to prove their health. Is that correct?
precisely. And that's exactly why the idea of getting it as a medical student, it's, I always joke with my clients, they think like, Kristen, I don't make money. I have more debt than I have income. Like, why am I buying this? And it's true from that perspective. There isn't a huge need for coverage right now. But what you're
Yeah.
doing is you're getting your foot in the door. You're buying this exceptional policy, the best on the market, best price, easiest way, knowing now that you can increase it as you need it, as even throughout residency into practice. All of that growth potential is included in that one product.
So some medical trainees may ask, well, should I be getting it in medical school? I sometimes, in the back of my mind, I find that hard to justify because medical students typically won't have an income until the very end of clerkship, depending on which
Mhm.
school they go to. But in residency, they do. So do you see more people saying go for it in med school or maybe wait till first day of residency? What do you advocate here?
I advocate heavily for those that are in fourth year to look at
Hmm.
purchasing it so that it lines up with a residency start. So
Yeah.
that's how you're securing those discounts and all that, free premium and all those types of things, but you're pushing it as far as you possibly can so that it's lining up well with actually generating income, actually having the
Hmm.
risk of you're at work now and you're seeing that need for disability. But I agree, nothing earlier than that really makes a lot of sense. My only kind of caveat to that would be if somebody's very concerned about their health, if you've had a diagnosis, if there's
Hmm.
something major in your health history that you are very aware of as being a concern for you, then perhaps it does make sense to buy it while you are still healthy or while things are steady or stable in any sort of diagnosis that you have. So that's the only outside of it that I would say if someone's worried about health. Otherwise, waiting, like you said, till that end of fourth year, starting residency is a perfect time.